This is a question to an answer to Farsideoftown, who said if I read the Christopher Hitchens book yet. I actually went to the library, true story, and I looked for it. It said it was in the card catalog system, and I went there and it wasn't on the shelf. So I'll go back. I plan on reading it because that video upset so many people. I I took it down, but I will read it. It's a question of he asked me because I seem open minded. He wanted to know, just for the sake of argument, regardless of my faith, would I want to know if it could be proven that God existed or God didn't exist? Would I rather not know? Would I rather know? So this touches briefly on what was that uh, Pascal's wager, where he basically itemizes four possible outcomes of there is a God, there isn't a God, you believe and you don't believe, and Pascal concludes basically that even if there isn't a God, and you practice a religious way of life, if you find it to be fulfilling and you find it adds to your life, then you really didn't lose anything. That's Pascal's wager. With me, I'd rather know. The only thing with this is the beauty of it to me is that you can never prove God exists. And this to me is an extremely enlightening and freeing and liberating point that God Himself put in creation, in my opinion. Because if you could prove to someone that God existed intellectually, what would be the reward of serving God? What would be the big advantage of someone who says, I'm going to serve God because I know God exists? It's because it takes an iota of faith. It's because it takes this quantum leap, this intellectual leap of, you know what, even though my psyche, even though my intellect can't pinpoint for sure there's a God as expressed in the Torah. He mentions the other religions, the other two major religions, and he kind of groups them together. I just want to say, I wouldn't do that. I know that Hitchens makes this point in his book. Someone told me that they're all the same. If you really look at the basic text, that I mean, the last two kind of grow off of the five books of Moses, the Hebrew prophets, and the writings. I wouldn't say they're the same religion, and if you look at how they're practiced, Islam and Judaism have a lot of similarities, but there are a lot of also dissimilarities. And same with Christianity, it's a whole nother boat, in my opinion. I think this is a horrible mistake as someone who's a practicing Orthodox Jew to say. I mean, Christianity permits, I believe, eating anything. Islam went back and apparently their prophet said that their leader said that again the pig is forsaken, but the way they interpret basic texts like eye for eye, hand for hand, Judaism was very strict. Rashi came out and he said what this means: if someone injures your eye, you can collect from the monetary damages the equivalent of what your eye be worth to you, as opposed to what I understand from Islam. They actually, like, for eye for eye, if someone injures you, you can maim them, which is in Judaism's opinion very barbaric and very backwards thinking. So I wouldn't group them all together. I'm not an expert at all on the other two monotheistic religions, major monotheistic religions, but in terms of Judaism, I just wouldn't. I don't see that. I don't think it as being so similar. Would I want to know? I would want to know anything. If you could, any fact you can give to me in reality, I want to know. I would challenge all facts you can give me, and I would just ask where they're coming from, how they're proven. Things people take things for granted. Like once you block out that faith is an axiom at which reason can exist. I mean, truth without an axiom of faith is endless, and it's in my opinion mindless. But when once you do have a little bit of faith, then you can make certain axioms on truth and on your knowledge and on wisdom. And this is how in my opinion you're able to take the intellect, which is infinite and which is in its nature and which knows no boundaries, and you're able to put it into some constraints and some restrictions, so you're able to make it productive and fruitful. Would I want to know? Of course I'd want to know. Um, do I think it's a fair question? No, because I think, in my opinion, God does not want us ever to be able to intellectually prove that He exists. If He did, what would be the big point of claiming I served God? Of course you did. You knew He existed. I could prove it to you rationally. The beauty of God's existence is that it cannot be proven by human intellect alone. It takes an iota of faith. He talks about he's uncertain, he's on the fence. He likes what some religions bring, like a sense of community and morality and things like that. Um, but something caught me off guard. Oh, like it would take a miracle for him to believe. I find the concepts of miracles, like they used to exist. surely don't happen the way they do now, and if they did, they'd be well documented. Sometimes they do exist. I mean, it depends how you view reality. We invented a horrible word called serendipity. Serendipity is this concept that things happen by happenstance, and it's a beautiful coincidence. This to me is taking God out of the picture. I mean, to look at someone's life, anyone's life, and to not be able to say honestly that you haven't seen things which are far beyond chance, far beyond coincidence. To me, you're denying a basic reality. Now, I'm not now. Where does that lead you to? In my opinion, it leads you to say that God's hand is in certain things. And whether they be big things to you or small things to you, everyone has at least a few examples of this. And what the intellect is able to do, if it wants, the cold intellect, is to say, no, I could show you exactly how this and how this and how this. This is in general how people come to discount the beauty that is nature. To say that there's living organisms that give birth to other organisms, that the humans have the intellectual capacity to rule over the animals, that the seasons are fairly constant, that the revolution of the orbits is relatively constant over what they believe is billions of years. That life has existed up until this point. I mean, all these things, if you just take them as is and take them as a cause and effect relationship from some unknown source, then yeah, I guess you can discount it. But it doesn't take a big imagination to figure out that there's a force behind this, and there is like a designer. So that's my answer. I will try to get to the book next time I go to the library. And thank you so much for your honest question. I also appreciate this kind of debate, and may God bless you in all that you do.